Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back. Last video we created a drum beat. In this video we're going to talk about creating a melody. All right, so I have this drum beat that we made in the last video pulled up. Let's play it just to jog your memory. Cool. All right, so now what I want to do, I want to add a melody to this. All right, so I'm going to click this magnifying glass here, the top right corner, and I want to type in synth lead. All right. So what this is going to do, this is going to pull up a bunch of presets from the VSTs that are already in Studio 1.5. All right. I'm curious as to what English cabinet sounds like. Let's hear that. Pretty cool. All right. So before we just go ahead and lay something down, I do want to talk about how we're going to make our melody. All right. So what I want you to do is pay close attention to this key bed down here. All right. Because if you can see as I play, it highlights the notes on the keyboard as I'm playing here. We're going to be creating a melody in the key of C major. Okay. I'll explain what a key is. So when we say we're in the key of C major, a key, I would make an analogy, is sort of like a map. All right. And that map tells us what city we're in. All right. And each key has certain notes in it. All right. And the notes are sort of like streets. So we know when we see certain combinations of streets together, we know, okay, well, we're in this part of town. All right. So the same thing with keys, right? In the key of C major, right? We have the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. So those notes make up what we call the C major scale. So the major scale is a series of notes that have different intervals of whole steps and half steps in between them. All right. So if you've never taken like a music theory class or anything, that might sound like a bunch of gibberish, but I'll explain. So in the C major scale, right, we have C and then D, right? So that is a whole step. Then we go from D to E. That's also a whole step. Right? Then we go from E to F. And that is a half step. So the reason why is that there are no notes in between E and F. But if we go back to D and E, or C and D, right? We got C and D here. You see there is a note in between them. All right. So so the major scale follows this pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, which means there's a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and then a half step. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. All right. So I know it's a little bit of music theory and we are creating a track, but I figured I would help you guys sort of understand these concepts because they will help in the long run when it comes to creating melodies. Okay, so if you don't have a MIDI controller, a MIDI keyboard, I'm going to show you how to pencil in a melody. So we are not going to leave you behind. All right, so I'll show you from scratch. So what I'm going to do is similar to the video where we penciled in a rhythm, the beat video, which if you haven't seen that, you can go back and look at it. I'm going to double click here. That's going to create a 4-bar MIDI region. I'm going to click again, and that's going to open up the piano roll. So as you can see, here we get a piano roll where we can click on the keys and we have everything we need here. So we're going to take the same exact steps. Let's just say we want to create a melody that maybe goes from C. Something simple like that. We're going to hit Command. I'm just going to put that pencil there. And as we hit Command, we see the note shows up there. And then we can either hold Command and drag it, or we can place the note there and then put our mouse at the very end of the note and drag it out. So we've got that note. This is just the note sustaining for the whole measure. Let's hear what that sounds like. So what we wanted to do was so let's just do something really simple like that. C, D, E, C. Oh, you see, this is a good learning point. All right, so if you put a note on the piano roll right next to it, it's going to be actually a half step, like we talked about. So we don't want a half step. Remember, the major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. We're in the key of C. My first note was C. We want to go a whole step if we want to stay in that key of C. I said that, a little fast, but you can check out the part of this video again where we talk about the major scale and staying in key. So I'm going to move that up to D. I'm going to move this up to E. Then back to C. So using Command, this pencil tool, and dragging the notes out, you can pretty much create any kind of melody as if you were playing a keyboard. It's a little more tedious, but I find that you can do some pretty wild things. So let's say I wanted to go all the way up here, and then I want to maybe come down here. You can pretty much do whatever kind of crazy melody. Let's hear what this sounds like. I'm pretty sure it sounds wild, but pretty crazy. All right. So, but for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to actually use the MIDI keyboard that I have here. So I want you to keep your eyes on this keyboard roll right here so you can see the exact notes I'm playing. So when I create this melody, I'm going to be using notes in the C major scale. All right. So remember, there's a little bit of latency here. So if it is a little bit off, we'll just correct it with quantization. All right. So you guys can follow my melody here with the piano roll here. And basically, let's just get started. All right. So there's a little bit of, maybe I wouldn't say finessing, but when it comes to quantizing, you kind of have to make sure you press things in the right order. So again, I'm going to hit Command A to highlight all of these notes in here. And I've already got my quantize on eighth notes. So I'm going to hit that automatic quantize and just select 8 notes in there. And let's hear what it sounds like. All right, so that sounds pretty good, but the length of this first note, let's take a listen to this. It sounds a little short to me. It just bothers me. Bam, bam. When everything else sounds legato, all right? So What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select this arrow tool, all right, so that we can drag this out. And let's take a listen. Sounds good to me. In this video, we created a melody on top of the drum beat that we made in the last video. And next video, we'll be adding a chord progression and a bass line. Then we'll be mixing and then arranging and exporting our tracks. A lot of cool stuff coming up. But thanks again for watching, and see you in the next video.